Hi everyone, it's me, Kenny McIntosh from WhatCulture.com, and I'm here to run down my favourite 10 matches in WWE history. Now you've already heard from the Posh Toff, the King, the American and the Child, so why not hear from the knowledgeable Scotsman? Unlike Jack and Adam, my picks might take into account the WWF before 1992. Now before I get started, I want to give a few honourable mentions. My number 11 that almost cracked the top 10 was in fact a Royal Rumble match, but unlike Jack's ludicrous selection of 2010 and Adam's Attitude Era fanboy pick of 2001, I opted for the genuine best Rumble of all time, the Royal Rumble 1992. What more could you want? The WWF Championship was on the line and you had the most star-studded Rumble roster in history. Hogan, Sid, Flair, Savage, Jake, Undertaker, Bulldog, DiBiase, the list goes on. But anyway, without further ado, here's my top 10. In at number 10, we have the gigantic double main event from SummerSlam 1989 where Hulk Hogan teams with his trusty barber pal, Brutus Beefcake, with Miss Elizabeth by their side against the evil Macho Man and the demonic Zeus, accompanied by Sensational Sherry. Now anyone who knows me knows the Hulkster is my favourite wrestler. With the red and yellow, the poses, the charisma, and the big leg drop, he had little child Kenny hooked. This SummerSlam match is a classic. It's WWF at its best. It's got everything you could want. Two heroes conquering two nasty villains, Hogan hitting Zeus with a loaded purse, the Hulkster atomic dropping a lady, and Sherry getting her hair cut off. PG! Woo! And at number 9, we've got the Hart Foundation versus Demolition from SummerSlam 1990. This match shows my love for tag team wrestling and where it all started. In the summer 1990, the Hart Foundation were on a quest to regain the WWF tag team titles from Demolition. With 3 falls of high energy brawling and vicious beatings, these teams destroyed each other, all to walk away with championship gold. The icing on top of the cake was when the WWF's newest tag team, the Legion of Doom, interfered and Bret and his very hairy cousin Jim got to lift their first tag titles in almost 3 years. If you've got the network, I'd stop this video right now and go watch it. Seriously, I'll wait. Go watch it now. Okay, good. Now that you've seen that, number 8 is Shawn Michaels versus the British Bulldog from the 1996 King of the Ring. Nothing grinds my gears more than 1996 babyface Shawn Michaels. While the NWO were tearing it up on Nitro, old HBK was taking off his assless chaps, showing his pube line and doing the Playgirl magazine. In Shawn's defence, he did have some belting matches in his first run as the champion. That classic brawl with Mankind at Mind Games, his battle with his best friend Diesel at In Your House, but my favourite happened at the King of the Ring against one of our home countrymen, the British Bulldog. With shenanigans ahoy, the two foes had a hugely underrated match that I still rate to this day. It had everything you could ask for. Near falls, high-flying moves, believable action, run-ins from Owen Hart, Mr. Perfect as the guest referee, and of course what we all want from a title match, run-ins from Ahmed Johnson and the Ultimate Warrior. And at number 7 we have the Ultimate Warrior and Randy Macho King Savage in the career-threatening match from WrestleMania 7. As we all know, wrestling is at its best when you're blubbering like a big baby with emotion. Now some people will try and tell you the Ultimate Warrior was a terrible wrestler. They'll point to the voodoo with Papa Shango or his dreadful WCW run, but to be honest, in the late 80s and early 90s, the Ultimate Warrior was the absolute tits. At WrestleMania 6, he managed to dethrone Big Terry, What's a Job, Bolea, but his most memorable bout came the next year against the Macho King. A 3-year story came to a head when Savage's career was ended and as the menacing but slightly arousing Sherry Martel was kicking her man while he was down. Literally. Here came Miss Elizabeth, rocking the out of a glittery stars jumper and reuniting with her former man. Fans cried, I cried, and the wrestling world rejoiced. Hurrah! Of course, Elizabeth and Savage would go on to get married and divorced within 12 months, but we won't go into that. And at number 6 is The Rock versus Triple H for the WWF Championship in an Iron Man match from Judgment Day 2000. Okay, I've got a confession to make, folks. Lots of wrestling fans bang on about the Iron Man match with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart from WrestleMania 12. Masterpiece, classic, one of the greatest WrestleMania main events ever, when in reality, it is so boring. I watched it last week and I had to go and take a dump halfway through just for something to do. Now if you want to talk about exciting Iron Man matches, then look no further than Judgment Day 2000, where The Rock and Triple H battle once again for the WWF Championship, and the Heartbreak Kid was drafted as the referee. Now Shawn Michaels is pretty much the worst referee in history. Look at SummerSlam 97, the first SmackDown in 1999, or Hell in a Cell in 2013. At Judgment Day, he was just as atrocious. After Rock and Triple H traded falls for almost an hour, the McMahon-Helmsley regime interfered and prompted the return of The Undertaker. Well, I say Undertaker. He was on a bike, had ginger hair, and looked like he was related to Dog the Bounty Hunter, but still, it was the dead man. And even though he cost The Rock the title and Triple H managed to retain his championship, it wasn't all bad. We did get to see chubby Shawn Michaels in his wee pants. Aww. And at number 5, it's Bayley versus Sasha Banks for the NXT Women's Championship at TakeOver Brooklyn 2015. I'm a big fan of women in wrestling and women's wrestling matches, but up until 2015, it just hadn't been presented well enough in the WWE for it to even hit my top 50 favourite matches. matches. Then one night in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, they changed the game. Sasha Banks comes out of an SUV with security, looking like the biggest star on the show. Then Bayley, the perfect lovable underdog, came out with wristbands in tribute to the recently deceased Dusty Rhodes. Bayley had been trying to win the NXT Women's title for almost 2 years, and every time she failed, fans wanted her to win even more. As the match built to its epic crescendo, Bayley hit her belly to Bayley suplex for the victory and the championships. In one of the biggest feel-good moments in wrestling history, finally Bayley proved nice guys and girls don't finish last. Hands up if you cried at this one. Yeah, my hands up. I'm not ashamed. And at number 4 is Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon from WrestleMania 17. I love a good fairy tale. You know, man threatens to divorce wife gets put in a mental institution, husband flaunts affair with mistress, son returns to avenge mother's name and culminates in a fight at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 17 is pretty much the best WrestleMania of all time. Austin Rock, TLC 2, Undertaker Triple H, but Shane and Vince is the one that makes my list. This match is a WWF attraction bout at its best. All the components for a great story are there. Vince is a dick, Stephanie is a spoiled brat, and Trish the mistress doesn't drug Linda that day so she can stand up to a monster pop and kick Vince in the nads. Add in Mick Foley as a guest referee, you've got a great big slice of WWF. Number 3 is John Cena versus CM Punk from the 2011 Money in the Bank pay-per-view. You know that grumpy UFC guy who hasn't fought yet and hates everyone? Well, he used to be pretty great. My pal CM Punk, cut his pipe bomb in June 2011, and it led to Money in the Bank that year where he challenged John Cena for the WWE title. The stipulation was simple. Punk's contract expired at midnight, and if Cena didn't win, Vince would fire him. Only a handful of times in life has wrestling made me stand up out of my chair and pace the room with excitement. Did you watch WWE in 2011? It was pretty poor. Santino was the US champ, we had the new Nexus and the Core, God help us. This summer night in Chicago, WWE felt relevant again and a revolution felt like it was finally taking place. I got more goosebumps during Punk's entrance that night than I'd care to admit. CM Punk pinned John Cena. Nobody pinned John Cena properly in those days. Okay, so Punk re-signed, they served him to Triple H, he had a 434 title reign and then left the company, but if you forget all that, this is still one of my favourite matches. The penultimate pick at number 2 is The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan from WrestleMania 18. Yes, I'm going to say it again, dear viewers, Hulk Hogan is my favourite of all time. I admit it, no shame. When the Hulkster came back to the WWF in 2002 with the NWO, I was all in for this WrestleMania showdown with Big Dwayne. Only in the WWF can you run someone over with an ambulance to get heel heat and the fans still cheer you. Everyone still wanted to cheer Hogan in 2002. The returning hero coming home to the granddaddy of them all against the current top guy who was about to go off and become a movie star. The moment where Hogan hits the leg drop, you can see almost all 67,000 fans in that building ready to lose their minds if Hulk got the 1-2-3. In the end, Rock won and we all knew he would, but for a 47-year-old part-timer, Hogan put in a good shift. Well done, Terry, you did well. And my number 1 pick, as obvious as it is The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania's 25th anniversary, even though it wasn't the 25th anniversary, it was just WrestleMania 25. As much as 1990 Shawn Michaels did make me want to throw my head through a wall, luckily old HB Shizzle had his 2002 to 2010 run which completely won me over. I was at WrestleMania 25 in Houston, and the show was pretty disappointing overall, except for one match. 2 long-term WWE veterans chucked together for a WrestleMania payday, but hey, let's just be glad Shawn was the one that beat Vladimir Kozlov to get the match with Taker at Mania. Can you imagine the other way around? Ugh. There's so many reasons this match is my number 1, more than just making the $2,000 I spent to go to Houston worthwhile. Michael's entrance all in white, descending from heaven, contrasted with Undertaker's dark chilling entrance, gave the bout a big time feel. We had super kicks, tombstones, last rides, the destruction of a cameraman, and of course, that Undertaker facial expression. 30 minutes of excellent storytelling at its best. If this isn't in your top 10, then we can no longer be friends. So there you have it, that's my top 10. Feel free to tweet me with yours, but don't tweet me asking why certain WCW or TNA matches aren't included. The clue's in the name. Hopefully you want to go and relive some of these matches on the network, and I'll see you next week for my next list. Top 10 Kamala matches. Oh come on, just let me do it. It'd be good. Fine, I won't do it.